What's going on, guys? Mommy Teacher in the house, and I'm here with my GPL Week 7 Pickem, where we have a fun guessing who we think's going to win, get it completely wrong, and you guys laugh at us in the Discord server. Particularly you, DJ. I'm watching you. And as always, I'm not doing this alone. I'm joined by my friend who keeps copying my results every week, wTrancel. How you doing?
Can I play the games later?
Yeah. That's your own fault. Play your games earlier, then I'm copying you, right?
I need to prep, and my opponents need to have their battles on time. Yeah.
We're also roasting everybody. No, I'm joking. Right. Alright, either way, if you haven't watched this before and you're wondering what the heck are we doing, we have both our teams in each match on either side of me on the screen here. We talk about the matchup, and we predict who we think's going to win. Pretty simple, hence why it's called a pick'em, because we pick who wins. Believe it or not. Right, either way, first up this week is going to be a matchup between two teams that are struggling for form right now. Big Nab, who's had a very hard time since joining the league, and Titania and Gaza, who's had a very mixed bag of results so far. How do you see this one playing out?
With the low punny and the Cephalon, I think there will be a little too much for Big Neb's team. Doesn't have too many answers. Obviously, Lapani could have a bit of move syndrome, but I think there's plenty enough with return and high jump kick with the coverage move and fake out. It could definitely break through Big Neb's team here.
I think one thing that can also be worth noting is the amount of physical offense on Titania's team, particularly with the Intimidate threat on the Arcanine, and the Skarmory is a very well-known physical wall. Jancy, of course, known for its bulk as well. Could be options around there. I don't see many Will-O-Wisp threats on Big Nab's team, which would be even better. Obviously, Arcanine gets it, but I don't see many others. I do think that a fully physically defensive Arcanine could be a thing. I have run Impish Arcanine myself in the past, but it will still struggle. That Aerodactyl, of course, being super fast, hitting incredibly hard, makes Heracross's life difficult. There's a little bit of potential for weather disruption. Venusaur does get Sunny Day and the Chlorophyll ability, of course, which can disrupt the rather pseudo-rain core that Big Nab has. It's not super great. I feel like
iPad can run it as well with a Heat Rock.
That's also true. I believe Absol gets it as well, which is even weirder. But yeah, I feel like we can see a lot more in Titania's team. Titania's team's a lot more well-rounded, it's faster, it's more hard-hitting. So I'm back in Titania and Gaza's team. It depends who plays as well. There is always that variable between the more passive play that Titania brings and the more aggressive play that Gaza brings. So be interesting to see who plays that matchup. But I feel like either way, the Macacos won this match.
I'm gonna go with Titania and Gaza here.
Alright, battle number 2 is Pelly, of course, who we keep memeing on him that he seems to never manage to win, versus Dizzy, who picked up a massive win last week and put himself right in the playoff race, of course. How do you see this one turning out?
Well, I think the T-Tar has to come for the Zam, so Excadrill can definitely look at abusing the sand there. And running Sand Force or Sand Rush, whatever he wants to do. Wants to be Scarfed or Banded.
Yeah, I feel like Scarf is more likely because he may want to try and bait out the potential Sand Rush. But yes, Scarf also has a lot more viability outside of Sand. So we're looking at that. But of course, one thing that we do also need to bear in mind is Pelly's transfers and the changes that he's made has pivoted a lot more to a Trick Room style team. Now, of course, the faster you are, the worse you are in Trick Room. So it can cause a few issues. There's a little bit of confliction, a little bit of contradicting strategies with that Mega Sam, of course, being really fast at 150 base speed. I can see Dizzy potentially being the kind of creative team builder that would run like a Flame Orb Psycho Shift Sigilif, particularly to annoy things like the Excadrill, to annoy things like the Mimikyu and the Stack Tackle, and none of which really want to get burned at all. And of course that Grabominable, which Pelly seems to like using for some reason. Don't know why. I never like Crabominal. Oh, I think it's an abomination. Or a crabomination, I should say. But yeah, I do think there's a lot of strength in Dizzy's team. There's a good amount of natural bulk with that Bulu, and of course that Mega Aggron being stupidly annoying. I think the options for hazards, particularly with that Empoleon, may be a factor as well. I think I like Dizzy's matchup a lot more. I think the safer pick is to go for Dizzy, but I wouldn't. But a risky pick would be to go for Pelly. Now I bet on Pelly last week. We haven't seen his game yet. I'm betting I'm being wrong, so I'm going to back Dizzy this week to make sure I'm not wrong this time.
Well, I might be wrong this week, so Pelly, but I want to see him really think about his team builds, as he's taken a bit of a step back after those week 3 and 4 battles that he really wanted to rush.
Absolutely. Our resident Mr. Eager, as we've always called him. He's disappeared for a while. He's been replaced with a new Pelly. It's just kind of interesting. Have to rename him Mr. Slowpoke. I mean, what? But yeah, alright. Battle number 3 this week is going to be Sylvie, who continues to be one-dimensional, and Crasher, who took a very big win against DJ, now meaning that every player in the league has been defeated at least once, which is quite a scoop. How do you see this one turning out?
I think Crasher will be able to do the same unless Sylvie decides to not send in Rabombo first, but who knows
I know,
with that
man.
one.
He's abusing my mascot with one set, and it's not working. You know, it's an insult to me here, right? You're abusing my mascot and doing it badly. Come on, right? Now, our jokes aside, though, like, we've said this quite a lot. I know Denise and I've talked about it quite a few times in the power rankings. We see pretty much the same team every single week. We're 7 weeks into a season now. You're going to be found wanting if you're doing the same thing 6 weeks in a row. Right? At this point, this draft is a lot more versatile than Sylvie is using it. And that is the big problem that Sylvie's going to have. And I would not be surprised if Sylvie loses the next 6 matches of the season if he continues to do the same thing. He plays me in week 8, and I'm the kind of person that will punish you if you're one-dimensional. I will break you down because I will find a way to beat it. And that's something that the experienced players in this league will be able to do. And Crasher is very definitely one of those players. Very high-level player, very strong team builder, very creative builder. Of course, he ran Mirako Avalog last week to beat a Tailglow Manaphy. Things like that. These are the kind of things that you expect to see from Crasher. And we need to see more of that from Sylvie if he's got any chance of winning this match. So, safe bet, of course. Pretty easy bet. I'm backing Crasher to make a very big win this week.
And it's not like Sylvie has nothing here. Like, Keldeo and Landorus have a combination. Like, very good matchup. Could definitely slowly break down with some hazards.
And even Rabombi,
From,
if you run like a Life Orb set instead of a Sash lead set, Quiver Dance and 3 attacks really does hit the vast majority of Crasher's team. Do I expect it to come?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not, because I don't think Sylvie will be able to use it. That's the thing. I do not trust Sylvie at all to deviate from the same strategy that he's done. And until he proves me wrong, I won't trust him. So I will back him to lose.
Happily.
Oh,
Maybe not happily. But...
well, I will happily back him to lose. Because he needs to show more if he wants to make playoffs. Alright. Battle number 4 then is...
Crasher, obviously.
Obviously. Alright, this match is going to be a fun one to call. This one's actually really close, in my opinion. DJ, of course, took an unfortunate loss last week, and Solo, of course, taking a very dominant win. Very, very strong, both of these players. Solo, of course, fixed his differential perfectly with a nice 6-0 win, making it super duper easy to make it hard for us, of course. Thank you, Solo. You always have to make our job difficult, don't you? Right. Now, like, all jokes aside, I like DJ's team a lot. I've said this quite a lot. I think his mastery of that Rain team is exceptional, and the way he's been able to utilize it for the most part of the season. Of course, he did struggle against Crasher, but that's a matchup that he was disrupted. The one thing that is worth noting, of course, is DJ's positioning is very passive around his weather, which was disrupted very nicely by Crasher. Now we do see that Vanilux picked up by Solo, of course. A Hail Setter, of course, can be another disruptor, so it'll be interesting to see if Solo opts to run the same kind of style, or opts to just keep with the rain setup and use things like that Volcarona and the Gyarados that really do hit hard in rain, as well as that Taunty, of course, with the wildly inaccurate Hurricane normally being 100% accurate in rain, completely cuck DJ's own weather against him.
Yeah, for sure. And Z Gyarados can definitely have fun, as flying is an amazing stab to have, and Swampert doesn't have fun with the Rotom either, so yeah.
It's a close one. The Slurpuff pickup was the interesting thing to me. Rocking outway there, taking away the Heliolisk, which is actually normally a very good rain user. Slurpuff may be a Webs option, does also give him a Fairy type that was otherwise lacking. I don't see Slurpuff doing too much in this matchup because it can't even beat the Medicham because of Fake Out plus Bullet Punch.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting pickup. I don't know whether he picked it up with this match in mind or whether he's picked it up for a later match. But either way, I feel like this match is very close to call. The safe bet for me is to back the one that's higher up in the league, which is DJ right now. But Solo is definitely a very big threat and a very stern test. But I'm backing DJ this week.
Well, I'm gonna go with Solo. Gotta back my boy. So.
Gotta back your boy. Gotta back the guy that's team building like hell right behind the scenes. Yeah. Alright. Number 5 then is going to be a fun one, I think. It's a hard one to call straight up, but I think there's an easier safe bet here. We got Crimpix, of course, the Nightmare Shadows, currently winless right now, actually. But he's yet to play Huddled, who is the match I backed him to win, against Exostomp, who has been very impressive throughout the most part of this season. Definitely, of course, that Coco Lucha draft and the mastery of his lower tier mons. Definitely proving to be a very key weapon in his progress towards playoffs this season. How do you see this one turning out?
Crimpix has some cool Trick Room options, but if he can get them in safely and get his threats in like Rhyperior to absolutely shred Exo's team under Trick Room, it could be interesting.
Of course, the one thing that we've always said about Crimpix is his big stumbling block is he's constantly relying on that Fortress. Fortress is definitely not a mon that's been working for him. It's dying to every hidden power fire on the planet. So we are looking at potential for him. I think if he builds the right team, of course, Rhyperior does lose to Seismitoad, but there is a lot of grass coverage option on that team. Things like the Blastoise, I believe, gets Energy Ball. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it does. Victini, I know, gets Grass Knot. I've used it myself.
Yep.
But even a lot of threats outside of Trick Room, Victini can be strong. Salamence can be very strong. Even Gardevoir outside of Trick Room, if you run a Scarf set, can be really annoying. Particularly for that Holucha if it doesn't get its Unburn boost. I feel like the safe pick is to go for the one that I know is likely to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Crimpix did pull out a win here, but I'm backing my boy Exo here.
Yep, I'm going with Exo as well.
Alright. Battle number 6 then is going to be one of the hype matches this week. There's a lot of hype matches coming this week. This match is going to be extremely fun to watch. I can't wait for this. Agoshi versus Diniestrio. Agoshi, of course, took a very big win against Shadow last week. Put him right in the playoff race. And Diniestrio, of course, unfortunately lost to me. In rather unfortunate circumstances for him with some very bad misses. With that Shaman especially. How do you see this one turning out?
Well, Darmanitan and can have quite a fun time outside of Finny with Zapdos support or Azelf or Virizion, sorry, I meant Virizion, to set up Calm Minds on the Finny, but he has to watch out for the Mega Beedrill before that.
I'm actually looking up something. I don't know if Darmanitan gets Thunder Punch. Oh, it doesn't, sadly. That's a shame.
No.
Interestingly, it does get Solar Beam, which is kind of funny. Special Darmanitan coming up, boys? Nah, obviously not.
Zen mode.
Yeah, Zen mode Darmanitan, yeah. But like, nah. All jokes aside, of course, like, that's the one thing with Darmanitan is it's really strong, particularly if you're using Sheer Force, but the one thing that it struggles with is the fact it's kind of one-dimensional. The Finny can be beaten, of course, by that Zapdos, of course. Virizion is fairly solid into Finny if it's not, like, especially an offensive Finny. Virizion can calm mind up on it and hit it pretty hard with grass moves, so that is something to bear in mind. But I do think the potential for Scarf Crook is extremely strong. Scarf Crook will outspeed the Mega Beedrill, it will also hit the Metagross and the recently acquired Typhlosion pretty hard. It does also hit the Volcanion, which is very, very scary. I'm not a huge fan of Volcanion myself, but it was a nightmare for me to prep for because it just hits so hard with that special attack stat. But yeah, I think the aggression that a Goshi can bring is scary, but I feel like Dinistrio's team is a lot more well-rounded. So for me, I'm going to back Dinistrio to win this one.
I'm going to go with Goshi here. Weavile, I think, might be a bit of a sleeper here, but we'll have to see. And if Ginny wants to use something other than normal Savali,
that's the other scary thing.
Might be needed.
Yeah, Silvally
Yes,
is not being optimally used all season long. He brought a Scarf Normal against me, which had pretty much an entire support moveset. In fact, I can actually pull up the Silvally he used against me. I've got it somewhere. Let's see, where is it? It's normal Scarf. It had Tailwind, Thunder Wave. Yeah, it was full support. Parting Shot, Thunder Wave, Defog, Tailwind. Max
it did
HP,
the same
max speed.
to me as well, but I didn't have a Taunter, so...
It literally did nothing against me. Like, it offered no threat. My Reg still just sat in front of it and it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, and that's the thing. You need, there's no water type, well, not water type, there's no ground type or dark type on Dinistrio's team. Those are particularly important types in Draft League that he could utilize and abuse. Particularly here, I think ground this week is actually kind of decent because it can hit the Mawile pretty hard. It can hit the Darm as well. So if he can see a more optimal use of Silvally, I feel like Dinistrio is going to have a lot easier a time. So I'm still backing Dinistrio, of course, but I would not be surprised if Agoshi picked up another win here.
Yeah, I'm going with Agoshi, so...
Alright.
See what happens.
Yep, absolutely. Number 7 this week is going to be your match versus Huddled. I think this is going to be closer than it looks. Of course, Huddled really struggling this season since week 1, not being able to pick up another win. Of course, you're copying me, 5-1 with a only slightly better differential. Literally +2 ahead of me right now. I do feel like there are certain mons like that Mamoswine, which is nasty against your team. The Clefable also can be annoying for Mega Gallade to break down. I do think there's some good threats on Huddled's team if he can utilize it correctly. I feel like that's the problem we've seen with Huddled a lot, is he's had the right team, but he's executed it poorly. And that's where he's losing a lot of his matches. Where, of course, you just have way too many strong things on your team. Thankfully, you've dropped a couple of them for next week, which I appreciate. But, yeah. I feel like this matchup is close. It's going to depend on who executes better on the day, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I've looked into a couple of his Mon's movesets, and I can see some crazy things he could bring, but I already know about them. I'm one step ahead. So.
But it depends if I help him build his team or not, because then I'll probably find some even crazier stuff. But nah, all jokes aside, of course, I think we're both going to back you to win, purely on record and execution. I feel like it's far too easy to pick, but I would not be surprised if Huddled pulls a few kills off here and there, I don't think he necessarily upsets the apple cart and wins, but I do think his match will be a little bit closer than some of your previous ones.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll let you take this last one away, as this last match is not only probably the most hype match of the week, but probably the most hype match of the season so far. That's going to be my match versus Shadow, of course, a rematch from the GPL Season 0 final, where I unfortunately lost pretty handily. I had a much worse team that draft, in my opinion. My matchup was considerably worse, but this time around my matchup is a little bit better. What are you thinking?
Yes, so here, Hydreigon and Aerodactyl have very limited switch-ins. Obviously, Ninetales can come in after the Hydreigon in case it may be locked in if it's not going for flash cannons. But Infernape also has a pretty fun time, but yeah. Zygarde could be a reasonable threat, obviously with its broken ground move that can hit anything it wants. Don't know if it'll have enough to break, obviously, Celebi, but
And even things like Cresselia is a really solid, physically bulky wall. Even if you don't run any HP or defense, it's very, very solid. Of course, Registeel, also known for being a very solid physical wall, can kind of sit in on Zygarde a little bit. Does obviously need to be wary of the Dragon Dance setup fodder, of course. One thing that's also worth looking at, of course, is we are post halfway through the season, so Nihilego may finally start making an appearance. It hasn't appeared much at all this season. He tends to scarf his Nihilego quite a lot, which can outspeed a lot of mons on my team. It does outspeed Infernape naturally by 1 point, which kind of sucks. Galvantula can outspeed if it's scarfed. I have brought Scarf Spooder a couple of times, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see it again. Interestingly, they picked up the Donphan, of course. Donphan gave him an additional Rapid Spinner. Can also be an Ice Shard user, which can punish and revenge kill the Aero and the Hydreigon, of course, which are big threats to his team. But I feel like there's a lot of defensive options on my team that he's going to have a harder time to break down. Even if he goes for the same, like, Toxic or Will-O-Wisp Hex strat on Dusclops that he did against me in the Season 0 final. I feel like I have better ways to deal with that now, because Florges, of course, is a phenomenal cleric and also a really good wish support, so that is something to bear in mind. Also, he seemed to rather inexplicably drop Typhlosion for Exploud. Not really sure why he did that. Now he has no fire type on his team. Exploud is too slow and gets hard punished by Infernape, so I don't really see what that change meant, but it does make Burn even more annoying against Shadow's team, particularly if he's running things like Earthquake on that Venusaur, if he's running a Dragon Dance and Zygarde. Doesn't really want to take a burn, of course. Donphan doesn't want to burn, and neither does Druddigon if it comes. So I feel like the burn is going to be the key factor for me here. Not just burning him in Discord either and roasting him as pre-match banter. I mean burn by actually burning his HP down. So I feel like this matchup is in my favor this time round, unlike last time round. It is going to be a close one, of course, though. It is going to depend on who jostles for a position. We're both very slow, methodical players that really know what we're doing, so it's going to be a titanic match. I wouldn't be surprised if this is an hour-long epic. We're both very good positional players, so this matchup is close. I'm not going to say it's an easy win for me, but I'm backing myself to win. I'm confident in my matchup this time round, so I feel like I've got a better shot of winning.
Got to get revenge, eh?
Gotta get my revenge. It's gotta happen.
Yep.
And I gotta do it before the finals as well, so Shadow knows I'm gonna beat him. Who are you backing?
Gonna go with Shadow. Gonna go against my host.
Alright, so,
The host.
of course, that concludes this last one. This will be the last time Trancel joins me. I mean, wait, what? No, I'm joking. Thanks for joining me, Trancel, of course,
I'll be doing my own one next time.
No. Fuck you, bitch. What? Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, Trancel, of course, for joining me, as always. It's always appreciated.
Yeah, no worries.
We're gonna get on out of here. My name is Rabombi Teacher. I'm your coach of the Royal Bournemouth Rabombis. Stay safe, stay awesome. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.